One is a Golden Globe-nominated actress. The other is an international supermodel and activist. And together, they're adding their voices to the fight for refugees.
Here to discuss their work with the International Rescue Committee are IRC voices Piper Perabo and Nykhor Paul. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beauty, just beautiful. I'm like, they came in and I said, it is getting hot in here. All this beauty on set today. I don't know what to do.
I know, but every day.
That's every day. I'm used to her, but you two.
He's so over me.
Beauty with the calls. I love it.
The things that we love about you, other than your beauty, is that you have a heart, too. Please, each of you, talk to us about the IRC and how you became involved in this organization.
So I became involved with IRC. I met them in August, and I just signed up to become the voice 2 days ago. But it's such an organization that I feel so connected to because it's also active in my refugee camp that I grew up in Ethiopia. So going back home this August to reunite with my family, I was able to see their work, and I was so impressed beyond words, all the amount of work that they do for the refugees of South Sudan. So it really just encouraged me to become a part of it and lend my help and my voice and see what we can do to help refugees.
And Piper?
I am on a television show where I play a spy, and we
Really?
I've
never heard of that show, Piper. Do tell.
Cool. I'm on Covert Affairs, and we travel around the world to do the missions. And I had met the IRC and realized all the incredible work that they're doing around the world, and countries that I was traveling to that was going to, but we were doing fictitious stories. There were also refugee crisis going on in some countries. So all the kids that were watching the show and involved in the sort of fantasy, it was a way to connect them back into what's really going on in the world and link them in. And this summer we shot in Istanbul, and Turkey has a huge influx of refugees from Syria. And then I went down to Beirut to see the Syrian refugee crisis going on there. And so it's been a really interesting confluence of sort of the fictional world and what's really happening.
Well, can you all speak to us about the specific types of projects that the IRC is doing and why it's so necessary today?
Well, I think for me, just being new with IRC and visiting my country for the first time, they do so much work with healthcare, sanitation, education, a lot of program to help women, to really bring their voices up, because a lot of the stuff that goes on in refugee camp with women are underrated and not spoken up for. So IRC is able to bring people like the refugees that they hired, some locals that can talk to them and find a way to relate their problems and talk about them. So.
Piper, what's it like to be on this huge hit show and then to turn around and visit these refugee camps, to go from the glamour of Hollywood to the abject poverty that some of these people are experiencing?
It's shocking to walk off a movie set and walk into a refugee situation. But what's so impressive is, on television, we're all fighting and it's pretend, but the people you meet and the struggles and the things they have overcome is so inspirational, especially the women who are traveling with their families, crossing international borders, and the fight that they continue to be free, to protect their family, to keep their family healthy. It's such an inspiration to me. It's incredible.
Can you explain what goes on in a refugee camp and what the atmosphere is like? Because a lot of people have only seen it maybe on television and don't know the real situations that occur at refugee camps.
Yeah, for me, it's really, it felt like nothing changed, because I grew up there. That's all I know my whole life, because I was born in a war and been displaced from South Sudan since 1995. So I lived in Perabo refugee camp, but it's not an easy life, because just going in August, it's like I'm living my life here. I've gotten used to living in the West, and to go back and see their daily struggle, just to even have water, that for me to sit there and starve and revisit everything that used to happen when I was there was just so frightening, because it's a day that you wake up and you hope that things will get better, that there will be food, that there will be education, but it's just literally just waiting. And
what was it like for you to leave the refugee camp and come to the Western world?
Oh my gosh, it was scary because I came here with my uncle and left my family back home, and I was 9, almost 10. But it's like you're going into the unknown, and like my father said, it's like I threw my seed in the dark and not knowing it will grow or it will come back. So for me to be able to go back and see them, it's like it made the whole trip even worth it. So.
Wow, always doing great work. And you guys aren't the only ones doing great work with the organization. Talk to us about some of the other big names that are also contributing their voices.
Well, one of the surprise supporters that we had last night at the annual gala, Sting came
No way.
to speak. And something that he did was so amazing was his Broadway show, you know, just opened, I think, 2 nights ago. And so his voice is almost gone from just working and working to get the show up. So he had planned to sing, but instead of singing, he called out all the names of all these refugee workers that had come to New York for the annual party. And he was applauding them. And it was this sort of special moment, I thought, to see them stand up and him recognize their work. And it was really beautiful, I thought.
It was an amazing event. And when Danielle sang, oh my gosh, my eyes were just glued to it.
Yeah,
So
one of
she's
the
also voice.
divas from the Metropolitan Opera came and sang one of the sopranos.
That is awesome.
Amazing. I was like
She
this
said
the whole
when
time. Oh my God.
When I met her, I had never met her before, and I said she had just been to Tanzania, where they're dealing with child labor issues, and she went into one of the camps, the children's camps, and I said, "How was it?" And she said, "I decided to sing." Wow. And I thought, oh my
Oh my
gosh,
gosh.
can you imagine that voice? Oh.
Amazing. Now, for those who unfortunately missed the event, how can they still donate, give back? Where can they go for more information?
You can go to rescue.org, which is an amazing website which really explains in detail all the different places that the IRC is doing work, exactly where your money is going, and specifically what they're doing to help there. There's a lot of information, so you don't just feel like the money you're donating is kind of going into the dark and you don't know where it's going.
And really quickly, what's next for each of you ladies? Really quickly, before we go to break.
Okay, well, for me, I don't know, I'm in the fashion industry, so I don't know, I'm working.
You better be. Exactly.
Yeah, so I have like a couple of shoots, but I'm really working on the trip that I took to Africa, because I document the whole thing, my reunion with my mom, the first time I'm seeing her, visiting my refugee camp. So that's what I'll be working on, the documentary.
All right, and Piper.
And season 5 of Covert Affairs returns tonight.
All right.
And it's the episode that we shot in Turkey. So you'll see all the architecture in the beautiful city of Istanbul, and it's really exciting.
Prettiest super spy
Cannot wait.
ever.
Cannot
Thank
wait.
you, ladies, so
Thank you,
much for all the
Thank
great work you
you.
do.
for having
Keep up the
us.
amazing work.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
ladies.
Thank you.
And you're watching Arise Entertainment 360.